Hi everyone. Today I want to talk about graphing linear equations, graphing lines. To graph linear equations on the coordinate plane, we really need two things. Number one, we need the slope, and number two, we need the y-intercept. We need to know where to start from, and we need to know what the pattern is from that one point. Well, we have something that is really helpful in this case. It's called slope-intercept form, right? Y equals mx plus b. It gives us the slope and it gives us the y-intercept. So here are the steps that we're going to take. First step, plot the y-intercept. We're going to make a dot at that value. Second, from that value, from the y-intercept, we're going to use the slope to go rise over run to plot our second point. And then third, we're just going to connect the dots. Let's get into some problems. That was not supposed to be like that. Here are our steps again. I know it's small. I apologize. Example 1. Let's graph y equals 2/3 x minus 5. Well, the slope is 2/3. And the y-intercept, or b, is -5. So let's go ahead and graph that. I'm going to plot -5 on the coordinate plane. This is the y-axis. So I have to make a dot at -5. Now from that dot is where I'm going to use the slope. Remember that the slope is rise over run. So in this case, because it's not negative, I'm going to go rise 2 units. 1, 2. Now we don't make a dot at this 2. We're going to run 3 from that point. So it's going to be hard to see. 1, 2, and 3. Now, if I want to make this line longer, I'm going to do that slope one more time, meaning I can go from the second point to make the third point. So if I rise 2 and run 1, 2, 3, sorry, the intermediate points aren't great. And I can connect the dots, and that's my line. So that's example 1. Let's go to example 2. Example 2 is y equals -5 over 2x plus 2. Okay, so a little bit different role reversal here. The y-intercept is positive, so let's go ahead and graph that. That's up 1, up 2. And again, these are increments of 5, right? So we have to count each individual box. That's a negative, which means we're going to go down 5, right 2. So the negative really belongs to the numerator. So from this point, I'm going to go down 5 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to run 2. 1, 2. And that's my point. Now, I could do this again. I can go down 5 and right 2 from this point, but I think it doesn't make a lot of sense at this point in time. Example 3. Ooh, did you see that? A whole bunch of yellow dust came out of nowhere. I have to clean this. Example 3, let's graph y equals -7x plus 8. Okay, well, our first 2 examples had fractions. This one doesn't, so we make it 1. And whenever there's just a whole number there, we're going to put 1 in the denominator, which means we're always going to run 1 unit to the right. All right, plus 8 is my y-intercept, so if that's 5, 6, 7, and 8, that's a -7 over 1, which means I'm going to go down 7 units and right 1. So the slope is really steep on this problem, and that's my line. Y equals -7x plus 8. And again, it's negative, so it has to go downhill. And now let's graph our last one. Little weird, right? Y equals -x. Okay, well, there's 2 things that are happening here. Number 1, there's no y-intercept, meaning there's nothing there. So our y-intercept is actually 0. So if you wanted to think like plus 0, that works out for me. Now the slope, remember the slope is the number in front of x. Well, there's nothing in front of x except for that imaginary 1. So this is an imaginary 1 in front of my x value, but it's -1. But just like example 3, I've got to put a 1 in the denominator. So this is actually -1. That's not a plus sign. This is a -1 over 1. So we're going to make a dot at 0. We still actually have to make a dot at 0 here. That's down 1, right 1. So I'm going to go down 1 and right 1. Down 1 and right 1. Down 1 and right 1. The only reason I'm doing it so often is you can see that there is a pattern here, right? And that is my line. Let's finish up. Things to remember about this video. Number 1, slope-intercept form. It's the way to go. Number 2, you've got to know the steps, right? You have to plot the y-intercept first, and then you can count the slope from that y-intercept to make your second point. And then number 3, moving because I can't see the cameras in the way, you might want to keep using the slope to make a longer line, especially if the slope is really small or the dots are really close together. Making a couple in a row makes it way easier to graph a longer line. See you next time.